Hello, welcome to Serving the Valley. I'm Roy Justice. What are we doing today? By the way, this is a Cedar Falls television production to get you up close and personal to this part of Iowa and what makes this part of Iowa a nice place to call home. I found that out myself. What are we doing today? He is going to pursue the Boys and Girls Club like maybe you don't know what that is. Well, actually, it's the Boys and Girls Clubs, and they are here in the Cedar Valley doing some pretty nice stuff, and we're going to hear about that. To help me along, because I don't know much about it at all, is Chuck Rowe. Hi, Chuck.
Thanks for having me today.
You betcha. Chuck's the CEO at the Boys and Girls Clubs, and welcome to the program. I don't even know where to start, Chuck. First of all, I guess I could say, tell me where it is. Where is this club, or where are the clubs?
Yeah. So I'll let you know where they are, and then I'll test you afterwards if you remember.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's right. Write it down. So anyways, our main location is going to be in Waterloo. So right across the street from East High, actually.
Sure.
It's going to be the area where our main location is. But then we have 3 other sites. One's going to be in Evansdale, another one over at Sacred Heart, which is on the other side of Waterloo, and then one in Holmes here in Cedar Falls.
So that's where it is. My next question might be, and I'll rush right to this, where's it going?
So, where's it going? As in any new projects we're doing and things like that. So we are adding a 5th site, which started off as probably one of the worst kept secrets in the Cedar Valley, which has suddenly turned now into one of the best stories in the Cedar Valley. And that is for years, and when I say years, I mean decades, people in the community have always said, well, we have so many great programs for kids, what are we doing for teenagers? And we're actually building a brand new site close to our Waterloo site that's going to be just for teenagers.
And that's an ongoing project that's been in the works for a while.
Yeah, I would say for the past 2 years. Well, quite honestly, probably for the past 8 years or so, we've been talking about this project. And so we decided that about 2 years ago, we got to stop talking about it and just need to start moving forward. And we started doing tons of polls and questions with teenagers, not only that go to the Boys and Girls Club, but that also live in the Cedar Valley. So we actually polled 1,000 teenagers, and long story short, there's nothing for teenagers to do once they reach a certain age. They stop coming to the Boys and Girls Club by a certain age, and they want to be able to do other programs and projects, and we decided that having a teen center was a great home away from home for these teenagers to be at.
That we don't have anything to do. We raised 4 kids. I heard that a lot. That's been going on for decades as well, has it not?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with resources and maybe things that we're raised with and maybe that we're used to growing up with. I know when I was a teenager, I didn't have that excuse. My parents made sure I took part in athletic opportunities and music opportunities at school. They would sign me up for different programs outside of school. I volunteered and took part in church activities. But there's a group of kids in this community that don't have those resources. They might not have parents that push them to do certain things, or they might not have the money to afford taking part in other programs. And so sometimes it's things that we take for granted, whereas this teen center is going to be providing a home for these kids that, I'll give you an example. We did a survey with 1,000 teenagers in the Cedar Valley, and we said, what was the most important thing to have at a teen center? We also asked adults what they thought the most important thing at a teen center would be for those kids. The adults said the same thing every time. They said having a gym or a game room or somewhere to socialize was the number 1 thing to have at a teen center. The number 1 thing that the teenagers actually said was a place to do homework, a quiet place to do homework.
Wow.
And a lot of our families, these teenagers don't have a place to do that. They go home and it's sometimes loud and rowdy, or there's not enough computer access for them or internet access. And so coming to a place like the Boys and Girls Club is perfect for them.
Wow. So the formula, and parents are always looking for a formula of how to help raise kids, help you are providing for many families in that regard. What is your formula for how to put together something like that for the teenagers?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. If there was a magic formula, we wouldn't be in business any longer. But I'll tell you what our plan is. It's based on 2 main things, okay? The first thing is going to be our mission statement. And our mission statement is to inspire and enable all young people, especially those who need us the most, to reach their full potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. And I know that's a mouthful, but in a nutshell, what that means is that we want to make sure that these kids have a place to go in the future in life, so that it's not just an endless cycle of poverty for them,
Okay.
where they're not considering college and careers. But the second thing that's really important for us is our tagline, which is "Great Futures Start Here." So at the Boys and Girls Club, you know, and this could be you, I don't know, but a lot of people don't actually know what we do at the club. And you know, you can see some of the photos that we have on here, that we're more than just a place that kids play basketball, which is what a lot of people think. We just play basketball or pool or whatever. But we're bringing kids to camp. We're teaching them music lessons. You know, we're teaching them art. We're bringing them to reading programs. We're doing math programs, STEM programs. We're doing all these different activities because of this tagline, which is "Great Futures Start Here." So the idea is that we're not just keeping them busy and off the streets now, but we're thinking long term, so that when they're taking part in our violin lessons, someday they might want to be a teacher. Or if they're playing games in the gym, maybe someday they want to be a gym teacher or a coach. Or maybe if they're doing our camping program, maybe someday they want to be a park ranger. Who knows?
Okay, so we have activities, we have programs, but to make anything work, you've got to have the people there. So how do you get them there?
Well, the people that come to the Boys and Girls Club are kind of divided in two main categories. One is going to be our staff. I think our staff are second to none. We have a very quality staff at the Boys and Girls Club. We probably employ, between all of our sites, over 30 staff members. Including in that staff is we actually hire certified teachers to help out with homework time. Or we also have individuals that might have a certain area of professionalism that they focus on that we might have them help out with. So for instance, we have someone on staff that teaches character building programs to kids. We have someone on staff that helps out with the meals. We have someone on staff that we have a junior staff training program that they help teach the kids about, you know, how to get a job, how to fill out a resume, or fill out an application, how to write a resume, things like that. But then the other second category here is going to be volunteers. And we have tons of volunteers that come to the Boys and Girls Club each day. And the reason why people want to volunteer at the club is it's so much fun to spend time with the kids, to take something that might be a hobby for you that they want to bring to the club. So, for instance, Roy, you're a media specialist, right? So
Go on, keep talking.
yeah. So I'm trying to butter you up here, and so the point being is, someone like you might want to come in one day and talk to the kids about what it's like being a media professional, or how to get into that job category. Or you might have someone else that might be an artist that wants to teach a painting class, or and then we have people that want to be mentors, one-on-one mentors with the kids. So we always need volunteers, and to do that is really easy. You just go to our website, which is cedarvalleyclubs.org, or you just email our volunteer coordinator, which is Aaron@cedarvalleyclubs.org.
There's your contact information, and that's not the only time you're going to see it during the program today. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate here, after you were so kind with your remarks. It's a cruel world out there, Chuck. There's stuff that's working against you, and I can hear some of the conversation behind the other side of this TV set, and they're saying, yeah, Chuck, but, what about the grades, and what about the dropout problem, and what about the teen pregnancy, and what about the drugs and the gangs and the violence, and the list goes on. You're counteracting that in what you're doing with the Boys and Girls Club, But the whole problem of getting that word out, I'm not sure how many of your club potential members are watching this particular program. I'm guessing not too many. So how does the word spread?
Well, don't underestimate yourself, Roy. There might be kids lined up at TV
Sure.
stations across. Yeah. So anyway.
Sure, Chuck.
So I think what happens is that kids vote with their feet.
Okay.
And when I first came here about 8 years ago, all of our clubs put together, we probably averaged about 100 kids a day. And now, 8 years fast forward, we average about 350 a day coming
Wow.
to the Boys and Girls Club. And I can tell you the number one reason why. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with some of the, we have some great board members, we have some great staff members, but the trick of the trade is that we have these staff members that provide positive programming for these kids to combat against some of the things that you're mentioning. So the kids realize this. And so that way, when the kids are coming to the club, they're doing our activities instead of taking part in these at-risk behaviors. And because of that, kids that come to the club, they tend to get better grades in school, get in trouble less often, and get in trouble less in school compared to those who don't go to the Boys and Girls Club. And it's something that we notice, and those stats go even higher, those rates go even higher if you come to the Boys and Girls Club at least twice a week.
What kind of demographics are we looking at as far as the percentage of those who are, you keep track of something like that?
We do. And I would say another reason that we're looking at this teen center that maybe we could talk about later, but the thing that a lot of people don't realize is how much our population has changed over the years at the Boys and Girls Club. So for instance, a lot of people that think old school at the Boys and Girls Club, when we're talking about the 60s and 70s when we first started here, that was mostly all boys. But now we're actually 50-50 boys and girls. Maybe a slight edge to the boys, but then also age-wise, we used to, 8 years ago, our teenage population used to be roughly 6% of the population that came to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Now it's close to 30% of the population. Most of our kids are still younger, so about 23% of our kids are going to be 6 to 8 years old, 21% of them are going to be 9 to 10, and 29% of them are going to be 11 to 12 years old. So you can see that there's a big chunk of those kids that are in like that older elementary, younger middle school kind of age. But the great thing is they're sticking around. It used to be that when you came to the club, you left when you got in about 8th grade or so. Now they're sticking around until they're in high school, and that's why our population in high school has grown so much.
Do you find that any have so-called graduated from the Boys and Girls Clubs and are seeking to return in some other fashion to volunteer? Has it been in operation long enough to see that happen?
Well, we're starting to see that now. I think 8 years ago that didn't quite happen.
Okay.
You know, there's some history at the club where we went through this little kind of negative phase that, you know, we had a low number of kids that came to the club actually, and then we also had not a lot of volunteers coming. Our staff was dwindling. I mean, it was a rough situation, but thanks to a number of volunteers in the community, they built the club back up. And now we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, where those kids are coming back to the club and starting to volunteer. And probably even beyond that, which is more exciting to us, is we're starting to see them reach the next level. So for instance, 2 years ago, this is something that's exciting to me. Now I know you spent some time in Iowa City, but I hope you remember that you are in Panther land here. And something that excites me is that 2 years ago, one of the kids that I saw become a teenager got the opportunity to become a student at UNI. And so one of the things that we do all the time is, you know, we have kids going to UNI constantly. We have kids going to basketball games at UNI. We have them on college tours. We have them volunteer. We have volunteers from the basketball team, the volleyball team, the dance team, you name it. We bring them out to the UNI as much as possible so those kids start thinking about going to college.
We're talking about teens doing better. We're talking about teens and others making healthy choices. We're talking about statistics on less delinquency, less violence, helping them with post-high school plans, and maybe even discovering a career, all wrapped up in a couple of rooftops in good old Cedar Valley land. Something just is wrapping up, and as people may be seeing this later into the summer, you had a very successful capital campaign. Talk about that a little bit, because again, that started with planning many years ago.
You know, I'm one of those folks that maybe this is a pessimistic view, but I'm more of the type that says we didn't reach that perfection until we raised that final dollar. So we're almost there. It's successful, but we're not very successful yet until we raise that final dollar. So our goal is $5.5 million for this capital campaign. The capital campaign has three main parts to it. The first part is going to be focused on rebuilding our Lime Street location, which is across the street from East High, that focuses on younger kids. And we're going to spend roughly about $250,000 or so on that location, probably even a little bit more, quite honestly, where we're going to be revamping it. That building has been there since the 40s or 50s. Not much remodeling has gone on since then, so we wanted to get some improvements there. Another big chunk is going to be going towards our new teen center that we're building that we talked about a little bit.
Right.
And that's going to be a beautiful 12,000 square foot building. And that's going to be focused just for the teenagers. And you can look at the pictures that we have on it. I mean, it's a beautiful building, and something that we believe in is just because our kids come from maybe tough situations doesn't mean they deserve any less than any other kid out there. True. And so this is going to be right across from East High. It's going to be a two-story building. You can see as kids come in, there'll be a beautiful entryway for them to just be welcomed at. There'll be a coffee shop for them to just kind of hang out in and socialize. There'll be a gym. Upstairs, there'll be this what we call the quiet area, which is going to be more of the educational area. Well, there'll be a homework room. There'll be a STEM activity room. There's going to be a music room. There's also going to be an arts and crafts room up there. So there's going to be tons of things for those teenagers to do once they get there. Then the third part of the campaign is going to be making sure that there's an endowment set aside. So that way that teen center will be there forever.
Right. I want you to give credit where credit is due in what has taken place on the Capitol campaign. Some very familiar faces I see in the brochure. You probably know them well.
You know, I've seen them once or twice before.
I bet.
So,
I bet.
You know, something that we're really proud of this campaign is that the campaign is at $5.5 million. We're currently at about 5.2, almost 5.3 million right now. And we've raised that in less than a year, which is, for a size nonprofit as ours, which is a pretty good, you know, timeline to do that in. And I'll tell you, the secret to that is especially the teen center. I mean, people are so excited about this project that they want to jump on board to this. And the people that you're mentioning in the brochure would include all three mayors in the area. So you have Mayor Hart, Mayor Brown, and Mayor Foss that are part of this. And I mean, you tell me a project in this community where all three mayors, regardless of where it's located, want to be part of this project. And that just shows you how important it is. And then you have guys like Phil Nash, Kent McCausland, a former Iowa player and a board member of ours. And you may have heard a guy named Ben Jacobson.
Yes.
You heard of him once or twice? Yeah.
True.
And you think of those people that are a part of this, and they're not there. You know, there's a lot of campaigns out there where people will be there in name only, very honorary.
Yes.
And for this project, that's not the case. These people have been diving hard into this project, going out there asking for money, going out there and asking for volunteers to be part of this campaign. So that's been the secret to making this work, is getting the right people that want to be part of this. And it's not just these people. There's tons of people in this community that are very influential folks that you know, they really want to be part of this because they're so excited, and it just breeds more and more people wanting to be part of this.
So that ties me right into where I want to be sure we give you adequate time to talk about how people can help beyond what's taking place with the Capitol campaign. You're always looking for volunteers to do.
Yeah, so there's never a shortage of volunteers needed at the Boys and Girls Club. We have roughly, like I said, 350 kids that come in every day at the club. So people ask me all the time, do we need volunteers? The answer is yes. So there's a couple different ways people could support the club. Obviously, you could donate to the club. That's just by going to our website and looking at ways you could donate in different opportunities. But then also volunteering. And some of the volunteering opportunities include helping in the office, helping in the kitchen, tutoring and homework help, playing in the game room with the kids. There's a lot of people out there that love playing pool or they love playing foosball that they tell me all the time and say, you know what, Chuck, I love to volunteer, but I have absolutely no skills at all. For those people, we say, hey, just hang out with the kids. You don't need any skills to hang out with kids. You know, another thing that we love to do is getting people, like we mentioned before, that have a skill that want to teach the kids. So maybe it's leading an arts and crafts project, or maybe it's you're really good at science and you want to lead a STEM activity, or you love basketball and we have some volunteers that love basketball so much they teach a basketball clinic with us every year, and we have some people that love wrestling, so they teach a wrestling clinic with us every year. So there's those opportunities, and then also there's one-on-one mentoring opportunities where we can match you up with a kid at the club, and you kind of hang out with them and help that kid grow throughout the year.
Wow. A lot of information I didn't have, I now have, and I thank you, Chuck Rowe, for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
There you are, another edition of Serving the Valley, and Chuck Rowe has helped us along in this regard. Until the next opportunity unfolds, Serving the Valley, I'm Roy Justice.
At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Kitchen in my hometown.
It's not about learning the right steps or making contact.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's not about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about taking steps to greatness, about making a connection. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about people in our clubs who bring out the greatness in every kid who enters our doors. It's not just about being on stage. It's about walking across it. Great futures start here, and here, and here.